All right. Good morning, everybody. We're ready to start the Public Works Committee meeting. I call it to order. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Daryl. Is there a second? Second by Cassie. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Joe, are you on?
I am on.
There we go. Go ahead.
First topic is multiple budget amendments for some shortfalls that we had. The total for all of the budget lines is $46,590 to come from fund balance to cover the shortfalls in those lines. Did everybody get that data form?
I don't think they did, Joe.
Do I need to go over each line?
Probably the committee would prefer if you did.
Okay. Under 8110 office supplies, I need $380. For printing, I need 10. For fees, other, I need 9,500. That one I think was a typo when I put the budget together. It was 1,000 instead of 10,000. Whoops. Under 8120 supplies, I need $5,000. Under 8120 repair and maintenance, I need $20,000. Under 8130 telephone needs $1,200. 8131 supplies, $8,500. And testing, I need $2,000.
Okay. Is there a motion for these amendments in Joe's budget? Cassie made the motion. Is there a second? Daryl takes a second. Brian has a second. Is there any discussion? Dana?
Joe, can you say again, you said you had like a decimal point error in the budget and it was supposed to be 10,000, but it was only 1,000?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Matt?
Have these all been cleared through Al? And if you're aware of them, you're on Al?
Yes, I did talk to Al on it.
Okay. And any other discussion?
I guess it would be to Brian. I mean, Brian, how does that throw you off any?
Let's hope not. At least it's within their own district. You know, that's the good news here. And we always have to redo things at the end of the year to balance them out. So I think this one's in line. If he's talked to Al, it should be fine.
Dana?
Just to educate Daryl, Daryl's kind of new, but Daryl, the only people that pay this are the people that are in that district that have the sewer. So it doesn't go up to your town or my town.
Oh, yeah, okay, got it. That's the independent levy.
It's by the users of the district that pay the water bill.
Yep.
Any more questions or discussion? All those in favor of the amendments, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Okay, Joe.
Next item is the award recommendation for the RFQ that we put out for a feasibility study to look at 4 or 5 sewer shed areas in the village of Hudson Falls, and basically the northwest section of the sewer district. We got 10 submissions for that, narrowed it down to 5, and whittled it down to, we'd like to award to Environmental Design Partners, EDP, out of Clifton Park. The commissioners have sat down, we scored it, 4 of us scored it, and we chose EDP.
Is there a motion
to award it?
Is there a resolution or a motion from the board, the committee, to award this? Brian Campbell makes motion. Cassie Fedler seconds. Any questions? What's the amount, Joe?
We did not tell the candidates. The commissioners set aside a budget of $50,000 for this RFQ. And none of the submissions were told a budget number for it on purpose. We were looking for qualifications. We were looking for their experiences and their approach to it's a multi-layered kind of thing that we're looking at. It's the beginnings of trying to come up with some projects to meet our long-term control plan requirements.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Did you have a question, Brian?
Yeah, I think what Joe's saying is with their RFQ is what they're looking for is somebody that has the ability to do the things they need done, who's the most capable. And I think that's how we got the EDP. They were the most capable to go in the direction they wanted to go. I think that's where he was coming from. Is that right, Joe?
That is correct, Brian. I'd like their submittal, their approach to the situation. And it's like I said, it's multiple situations that we're going to be addressing. So they were straightforward and we're going to go with them.
Dan.
Yeah, so did I not hear there was not the number, the cost is not let out or what?
Right.
It was said and I didn't hear it? Because now if you're awarding it, you got to have a number, right, with it? I mean, it'll be in the
No, they're looking for ability. They're looking for the ability to do the professional service they want done. And what they're saying is they graded them and one that had the ability. So they haven't given them it's not a bid. It's just a proposal to do the work, basically.
Oh, I thought we were passing a resolution to award it.
We are.
How can you award it without a cost?
On purpose, we did not tell the candidates how much we had set aside for this project. The commissioners.
Right, I understand that, but if they send you a bill for $100,000 and you set a goal for 60, wouldn't that be kind of a shocker to your system?
Well,
it just seems like there's got sooner or later got to before final approval to award a contract. Don't you have to have a number?
We are.
I mean, I could be wrong, but am I looking at that wrong?
No, we will have the awardee will be told the budget is $50,000. We're going to go to $50,000 for this project. Let's get done what we can get done for $50,000.
Okay. If they don't like that, they can turn it down, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Kind of a strange setup.
All right, we got it now, Joe. Thank you. Next thing you got, Joe? I'm sorry. Dana's got a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dana.
Joe, is that 50,000 theoretical, or did you just tell them what it is?
I haven't told anyone what that is other than the commissioners themselves. You
just said 50,000. You just said $50,000.
Right. Once we get an agreement, once we award it, we'll get a contract with these guys, and that will be they will be told that's the budget.
This is a public meeting. You just said it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, the contract will be a public document, so it's going to be there for these guys anyway.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's 50,000, 50,000.
Right.
Okay, Joe, you got more items?
Yep. The Feeder Street project, just an update. I don't know if any of you have driven up or down Feeder Street, but if you have, the paving job was unsatisfactory. We are holding retainage and the paving costs from that contract until next spring when they come back and remill and correct the unsatisfactory paving job that was done. And I just wanted to let y'all know that in case you took a ride down that newly paved road and you were as disappointed as I was.
on that for Joe? All right, anything else, Joe?
Yeah, we have some unpaid out-of-district user fees from the town of Queensbury. And the total with penalties, there's 3 different accounts, is $1,265 and some change. Without penalties, it's $1,126 and some change. We were going to take legal action because none of these folks have responded to certified mailings that we've made. And we want to recoup those costs. So we'd like to take them to court. Maybe we'll send another round of letters, but I wanted to, actually today, I wanted to get some assistance maybe. Does the county have any other similar situation? And the other thing that's kind of messing it up is that there's a utility moratorium on termination of services, because that, you know, that's the alternative. They're out of district users. We could just plug their line, notify the town of Queensbury. Then that would be a town of Queensbury code issue. It would not allow the residents to be occupied, I would guess. And I'm just wondering, I did speak to Roger yesterday, and his thought was that we just plug their lines up. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just send them notice that we're going to take them to court, and it would have to be, I think it would have to be in Queensbury or in Warren County that we took them to court. I'm not sure if it has to run through Roger or if we can do that with the district's legal counsel. Is there anything?
Roger, do you want to answer that?
He's going to need authority because the county can't sue people without authority. He's going to need authority to pursue those bills in the courts. It'd just be a simple resolution. And then he either pays me to do it or he pays his outside counsel to do it, because we backbill the district for my time. And they traditionally use outside counsel. So all he requires really from you is the authority to go ahead and pursue those things through a legal action, if that's the best route to do it with.
I just don't know what other options we have other than the certified mailings that we've made that haven't been responded to. There were 4. One person responded and paid, but we still have 3 outstanding. We can't.
There really isn't anything left for him to do other than pursue it that way. It's not like we have a special, fee collecting arm of, the things we collect, the major fees we collect are through the real property tax system.
Right.
Which is a completely different animal than what he's talking about.
Dan, you have a question?
Yeah, it was for Roger. Roger, this might be right out crazy, but couldn't we enter into an intermunicipal agreement with Queensbury and bill them for that and let them charge back onto the taxes so that we can avoid legal costs? And then it'd be no cost to us.
Yeah, that's a question for Joe. I don't know how the thing's set up, but they're out of district users. So Queensbury would have to have some authority. Queensbury's not part of that district. That's why they're out of district users. So Queensbury wouldn't have any authority to collect those either, because they're not providing a service and they're not.
Well, if we had the intermunicipal agreement with Queensbury, then they are providing for us, in which case they could. I mean, it's a theory. It's a hypothetical theory. I mean, it would avoid costs and do a lot less, create a lot less work for you or for Joe.
If I'm Queensbury, why would I agree to that? That just puts a burden on me. I wouldn't agree to that agreement. You know what I mean?
Well, but they might, so that they can provide sewer to those people. I mean, without asking, all it is a phone call.
Yeah, they're not providing it. You can always ask. I mean, there's no harm in asking, but I suspect you'll get an answer somewhat similar to what Matt's saying. But sure, phone calls are free, as far as I know. So Joe could make a phone call, but I don't know. Stranger things have happened, I guess. I'm avoiding telling you your way out there, Dan, like you invited me to, because I don't think you are, but Queensbury wouldn't be, it's not like we could give the pipes to Queensbury and then they could use the authority of we're providing a service to then collect it. So the danger for Queensbury is they get to court and they say, why are you here? You don't have any standing to pursue this. The money's not owed to you. So it's always going to be owed to the district in the end, but maybe they take a flyer on that. But I think the better thing to do is to just give Joe permission to pursue those things. In district, it's easy. Out of district, it's a little more difficult, but how many out of district users do you have, Joe?
Oh, hundreds.
Right. So it's not a unique situation. If you gave him blanket authority to just pursue the bills as he needs to pursue them, then he could go forward whenever it became necessary. And if you wanted to put it has to get to X number of dollars before he can go to court. So he's not suing over $3 bills, which I doubt he would, but you could also put a cap on it that way. And then whenever it came up, and I don't remember it coming up all that often. Usually the letters are persuasive, but whenever it came up, he'd be all set and ready to go. I'd pursue the amounts that are they're owed to him.
So what you're saying, Roger and Joe, with these hundreds of out-of-district users, a lot of them are in the town of Kingsbury, I'm assuming, or Fort Edward, maybe.
Right.
But we have no way of collecting their fees if they don't pay?
They're not re-levied like a normal district user. They just get re-levied onto the tax bill because it's a cost that they're responsible for by being members of the district. These are people that aren't members of the district. So it's a arm's length kind of transaction, not an in-district transaction. In-district things are much easier to collect because they keep rolling over. Out-of-district
Well, I
things.
understand in-district, but
keep
I'm
growing.
saying out-of-district in the county or in the same town. We'd have to go through or Joe would have to go through the same legal mechanism for somebody out-of-district in the town of Kingsbury?
Yes, because it's not a town. It's not a town district. If it was, it would be a district, and a district. If they're in a district, to be levied on their tax bill. These things have nothing to do with any of you. Even the in-county folks don't have anything to do with your town. So the town of Kingsbury, the town of Hudson Falls, the village of Hudson Falls, the village of Fort Edward, the town of Fort Edward. If you're outside the district doesn't follow town boundaries necessarily. So if you're out of district, then you're an arm's length transaction, not part of an in-district thing where taxes are levied. It's simply a contractual situation where the district provides services and you promise to pay them, and you haven't met your contract. You haven't paid for what you've received.
Dana, do you have a question?
Yeah, so Joe, these three users, are they residential or commercial?
Residential.
What happens if somebody stops paying their property taxes? I'm sure they don't continue paying their water bill. If they're not paying their property taxes, they probably don't pay any of that. So you must have this happen a lot.
No, honestly, this is the first time it's gotten this far. We have had late payments from these Queensbury out of district users, but they always, once we send a letter, it ends up getting paid.
Do they pay monthly, or do they pay when the tax bill comes out?
They pay semi-annually. It has nothing to, for the Queensbury users, tax bills have nothing to do with them because they're in Warren County.
That's probably why they're paying it, because it's not part of the tax bill that they ignore.
Brian, you had a question?
Yeah, does the penalty cover our cost to recoup this? Or can there be a surcharge added so that we don't have a cost?
Al, you had your hand up. You might just well answer it.
Well, the question that I had is I don't want to pay outside counsel $2,500 to collect $1,400.
Right.
I mean, should we just be considering putting a lien on the properties and moving forward?
They'll have to go to court, Al, at the end of the day, because
Right.
you still have to prove the debt to then collect the judgment by putting on a lien. So it's the same series of steps.
I've seen some of the outside counsel bills, and I don't want to spend $2,500 to collect $14.
Understood.
Yep.
Matt?
From what I understand from you, Roger, you said either the sewer district would hire outside counsel to take care of this, or if they wanted you to take care of it, you would, and then you'd bill back to the sewer district your time. So the county net zero cost in this whole thing either way, correct?
Well, if you consider my time to be zero, then I guess you're right.
No, but they're gonna pay, whatever time you put into it, the sewer district's gonna reimburse the county for that, right?
Yes, except there's the opportunity cost if I do other things.
Understood.
Yeah. And Roger, question though, in terms of the fees, the legal fees, they can be held in judgment against the, those people who failed to remit. Is that correct?
Yes, usually these will all be small claims actions. They're under $5,000. So we're not, remember, it's not the aggregate total we're talking about. It's each individual person's that adds up to the aggregate. So it'd be each individual's action. So they'd be in all likelihood be in small claims court.
Yep. So we, you know, to the point of will we incur a cost of outside legal fee? Well, no, that judgment will be paid. That'll be levied against the individual if the judgment is that they have to owe, and they owe not only the sewer bill, but they're going to owe all the legal fees.
Well, we should be asking for that, and the fees should be fairly minor. There's no filing fee, for example. If you go to a county court, you're going to pay. Well, we're exempt from fees in many cases, but you're going to pay a much more significant fee than if you go to a small claims court. So the cost of the action in terms of the actually instituting it is very low. It's the time spent in filling out the forms. And again, it's small claims. So I might be counterintuitively saying I have plenty of time, I can do that, but it doesn't take very long and it shouldn't be a large bill.
And we can recoup legal fees in that action.
Yes.
You know, but the other side of this is that utility moratorium for
Right.
termination of services. We have to allow, correct me if I'm wrong, Roger, we have to allow them to set up some sort of payment plan if they're COVID affected their ability to pay.
Well, right now, what really hurts the entire situation is the silence, the lack of response.
Yes.
So you don't know why these people aren't paying. They could have a hardship situation caused by COVID. There could be a myriad of different reasons for not paying these things. And since they're contractual, not like real property, which has its own set of rules, you could get to the filing of it and the person comes in and says, well, the house is vacant because it was my grandmother's and she died, or, you know, we've been hit by COVID and we don't have a job or something like that. And then you're into the time period where you could work out any kind of agreement. You know, they could agree to a lien on the house for that amount. I guarantee you that when any of those places are sold, or if they're sold, there's a search done of what outstanding fees are owed, and that they were usually paid at the time of closing, because I don't want to buy a house that has an outstanding sewer bill on it. So, you know, until you make contact with these people, and since the letter writing contact hasn't happened, really the only way to force some contact at this point is to pursue it and then see what the answer is, because you don't know.
I've got Matt first.
Well, this is gonna sound harsh, but this is a sewer district problem, and they have a set of commissioners, and they gotta decide whether they're gonna hire outside counsel to pursue it in South States Court, or hire Roger to do it. I don't see where it's our burden.
The only thing you need to do is authorize them to go forward. That's
Move it.
I'll
Second,
second.
Okay, I have a motion by Brian, second by Daryl and Matt. Any more discussion? All those in favor of allowing Joe to go forward with legal action, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Okay, there you go, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Is that all you have, or we got more?
I'm done with me if you're done with me.
Anybody have questions for Joe, or can he go? See you later,
Happy
Joe.
New Year.
Thanks a lot. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay, Deb, they're all warmed up for you now.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Joe. So we have a couple of things today. There is a Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has a new safety regulation, and it's called the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration Clearinghouse. It maintains the records of all drug and alcohol violations in like a central repository. So the county is all set up with that, and we've done everything that we need to do. The learning curve was extremely steep, but we figured it all out. So my question for you guys is, do you want the county to participate in a shared service where we kind of administer this program for your DPWs? Okay.
You got a question there, or Cassie's got a question?
Would that require all of us? This, I guess, to understand that this is just information that you're keeping on file. This doesn't mean we all use the same testing site.
Right. So your testing people, whoever they are, would have to enter certain things into this repository. So every year we have to run all of our employees to make sure that they didn't have like a positive drug screen while they were doing a second job hauling milk or something like that. And yeah, it's independent of who your drug tester person is. They would enter a lot of that into the computer program because it's online. If you Google FMCSA Clearinghouse, all the information's right there. And it costs $1.50 per person per year.
Dana?
How is this being done right now?
I don't believe, I didn't go to the town meeting association to talk to them about this, but I don't believe any of the towns are actually signed up for it yet.
So this repository doesn't have any of our information already,
Right,
but we now must give it to them.
yes.
Okay.
What's the committee think? Do you want the county to offer this to the towns? Dana?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jay, but how much is this going to cost? How many employee hours? Give us some idea of this, what this is.
So the initial stuff that when we were trying to figure it out, it took some time. But the drug and alcohol tester that you have enters the information for your employees, and then we would run a query, it's called, once a year. And you also have to run a query before you hire somebody to check on them. So at this point, because we figured everything out, it would only take a matter of minutes, literally, to run the query and communicate to the town whether or not there was anything on that query.
And you can do this through shared services, and that's okay. It's the shared services doesn't really cost us, the town, anything, correct?
Well, I'm kind of asking you guys, if you don't want to go the shared services route, we're still willing to do it for you.
Question is, if we agree to this on the town level, what would it cost the town?
$1.50 per person per year.
Oh, okay, then let's do it.
Okay, is that a motion, Dana?
Yes.
Cassie?
Second.
Okay. Brian? You seconded, or question?
Yeah, I got a question too. So you're saying all the information will be put in by whoever does the test, and you just run the query, is that right?
Yes, I'm sure we work with them to make sure everything is all correct. But yes, they do that. And then when they do the testing and they find there's a positive, they put it in there. So we don't have to put any information in. All we have to do for the towns is run the query once a year.
And then you would alert us to any adverse report.
Yep. And it would be unlikely that you would see anything there, but yes, we would advise you that something is in there. Because if they're working somewhere else and they don't tell you, which I don't think is legal either, but then that's the only time we would find out. If they're working for you and get a positive for any reason, you're notified by your provider.
Dan?
Yeah, just so I understand this, Deb, are you saying that they had a second job, that company is required to do it already?
Well,
So this would
everybody,
allow us- Huh?
yes, everybody's required to do it. They don't, they're not, they don't necessarily know that they're a second job. It's just a federal motor carrier requirement for all CDL holders.
John?
Shouldn't that be discussed with the superintendents first before we make a
Well-
decision and push it on them?
I would like to discuss it with them. I haven't been able to yet, but I wanted to talk to you guys first before I went through all that, because this kind of makes it easier to explain to them if we're gonna do some part of it.
Dana?
But to answer John, I think it's yes, because when you go to pay the invoice, it's gonna come out of your highway budget. Deb, if you have a CDL in the county and you are in Kentucky and you get pulled over for DWI, will that show in your background search?
Yep, that's exactly what it's for.
So it's not just drug testing, it's well, I guess you do get drug tested if you're pulled over, so, all right, never mind.
Yep.
Any more questions? Cassie?
So I'm thinking that I can overstep my highway superintendent with 5 employees it would pertain to. We're talking $7.50, and I'm sure he can find that in his budget. So, they're gonna be aware they have to do this, and I'm on board for $7.50. We could waste more than our time talking about this for $7.50. I'm for it.
Any more questions? All those in favor of the county say aye.
Aye.
Matt, you still have questions? Okay. All those opposed? Okay, very good,
Just gotta
Deb.
talk to Sue Clayman, right? Deb needs to talk to Sue Clayman.
Okay, yep,
To apply for the shared services, yeah.
yep. And then, let me see if I can do this. Oh, I can. Share. So, do you see anything?
Yep,
Yep,
You see a very colorful map? Okay,
yes.
so let me see if I can move this over. I have way too many monitors here. Okay, sorry.
we lost it.
Larry Paul with the horse.
You lost
They're
it?
running neck and neck. They're running
Yeah.
neck and neck.
We got the horse race going on now.
Oh, crap. All right, good. You get to look at the picture and not me, which is fine with me.
Going down the wire.
They're won by a nose.
Okay, we got it now.
All right, so, I talked to you last month about, this Shushan Bridge project and easements. So this is the bridge right here that's gonna be replaced. This is Jackson on the left and Salem on the right. So we wanted to get a temporary easement over here, on, Charles Link's land. But now the utility would like it to be a permanent easement. So basically, we would be removing this pole right here and removing this pole and putting a pole here so that this line can go from here to here. That will allow for constructability for this bridge, to put the crane over here. So the reason it needs to be a permanent easement is because the guy wire that holds it down will take up more room than we need, or than we have in our right of way. And the reason, well, it has to go through a process called condemnation because the right of way people can't reach the landowner. So I wondered how you felt about that. Dana?
You call me before I raise my hand?
Yeah, go ahead, Dana.
Condemnation, eminent domain. I don't care why, don't do it.
The landowner's been pretty evasive, right, Deb? And you haven't been able to get a hold of them. And is the property in bankruptcy? Is that what you said to me the other day?
I believe so. Al, can you confirm that? Or is Al on here? It's my understanding that it is. I don't know how to stop sharing the screen.
Yes, it is correct.
Okay.
There's Al.
Oh, I don't have this right here.
Dana?
I've spoke at length with Deb about this. And when this was first brought up, there was a resolution that was already passed by the Board of Supervisors for almost $17,000 to buy the easement. And if you remember, one time I asked Roger, why are we paying so much for a temporary easement? And he just says, because we do all the time. But this one is different. You're going to condemn the land to do it. You are taking something from that landowner. You're taking your right to have a permanent easement. And I don't know anything of this gentleman, but I hear a trend that he's starting to be made the perpetrator. He's evasive. He doesn't pay his taxes. We don't know any of that. You know, you can have a person that doesn't pay his taxes that also has a hardship. It's so this is eminent domain. And once a year, we pass a resolution that allows the chairman to sign letters of condemnation. No, Roger's going to correct me on all this. Letters of condemnation, but only for DPW reasons. And every year I say, God, don't ever do this. This is what you are going to do.
Brian?
Well, Dana brings up a good point. If we have to pay for the easement, maybe we should make it a point. Maybe the supervisor in the town go talk to him, because maybe this easement would pay off his taxes if this is a problem. I mean, there might be a better way around this.
Not even close.
I would think someone needs to go talk to him, but he can't be that hard to find.
Matt?
Are we moving a pole, or are we taking his property? Are we doing both?
We're not taking the property. It's, when I asked you last month, it was for a temporary easement. Now I'm asking to consider a permanent easement, to leave the
He was
pole.
still own the property, he was still owning everything to do with that, it's just there's gonna be a pole located on that property, and we have a right to get to that pole. That's all this is, right? We're not condemning and stealing his property. This is not eminent domain thing then.
You are taking an easement from him permanently without his permission. That is a taking. Roger's nodding yes. That Roger, please explain.
Yeah, whether you're taking an easement or taking the property, it's still a taking. Mr. Half's correct in that regard. And so he's due compensation for that. And
Right,
if he's,
we're willing to compensate him for that, taking that easement, correct?
yes, that's what eminent domain is. You pay for the property you take. You pay, even with eminent domain, you pay for fair market value. The argument is always over what's the fair market value, not over is it going to happen, because we have the right to make it happen if the conditions for making it happen are correct. The argument in courts is usually how much is it worth? But yeah, so whether it's temporary, whether we're going to deprive you of that use for a set period of time and then it's going to end, or we want to deprive you of that use by putting a pole where there wasn't a pole, or a guy wire where there wasn't a guy wire, you're entitled to compensation. Mr. Half's entirely correct in that point.
But isn't Deb asking us to say, we are willing to compensate the value of that permanent easement to the property owner? We're willing to make a deal with them. All she wants to do is say, we want to make it permanent. We will pay him the X amount of dollars that he considers fair for that permanent easement. It's just a contract, right?
Well,
if we can find that person.
She's asking you today, what if the property owner says there is no amount of money,
Right.
and she still go forward? That's what eminent domain is. At the end of the day,
Okay.
assuming
And
it's
at the end of the day, if that's the case, Deb, how much additional is it going to cost us to build the bridge by not moving that pole?
So we can do, ultimately, for sure a temporary easement. We need to put the pole over there, construct the bridge, and we can put the pole back. It's costly to the contract, but that's a possibility, and that may be the way you want to go instead of permanently. I think that the reason this is a big issue is because we can't get a hold of landowner to see what they want to do. So I don't want to move forward with trying to make it a permanent easement if you guys would rather do a temporary easement, or if you're even okay with a temporary easement. That's what we were originally planning on doing. But to build the bridge, it may be possible, but I think they looked really hard into constructability, and this was pretty much the only way that they could do it. I mean, they might be able to jury rig some sort of something up, but they haven't been able to figure anything like that out yet.
Yeah, the one pole sits right by the corner of the bridge there, so that's definitely gonna be an issue.
Right,
Dana?
that's the one.
This is in the town of Salem, correct? Has anybody actually tried to knock on his door, or is it all contact through the mail?
I don't know exactly how they tried to contact him, but they said they have extensively tried to. And I think that I can ask them how, I think that if we were able to get a hold of the landowner, it would be so much easier.
Well, maybe Sue Clary it's in her town, can investigate and physically try to speak to somebody, but a temporary violation of this person's rights is far better than a permanent violation of this person's rights. So if you're going to do it, please don't do permanent. I mean, if you're going to harm him, let it heal. A permanent will never heal.
Unless he's willing to take the compensation for that permanent easement. He may be willing to that, and if he is, what's the big deal?
Then there is no condemnation.
Yeah, if he's willing, if we can find him, this wouldn't be such a problem. That's why this is a problem, because we can't get in touch with the landowner.
It's also, Deb, correct me, but it's also a problem because you are replacing with a different design. The original design did not need a large outreach, large pieces with a crane. The original design was smaller pieces put together, right?
Oh, years ago, that is the assumption I've made. I assume that's how they did it before, because it's a pin and hanger bridge, so.
Al?
Deb, would you have any interest in me reaching out to my bankruptcy attorney to see if we can get to the landowner through his bankruptcy attorney?
Yeah, yep. Whatever we can do to get to the landowner would be the best. But if
I'll even drive there.
If we don't get to the landowner, do we want to go, is it, can I do the temporary easement? Would you I don't think anybody really wants to do the permanent easement.
Well, maybe it'd take him out of bankruptcy. Maybe he'd be more interested in the permanent easement. It would cost more.
I think we should make the offer and then scale back the offer to see if the landowner is willing. Where is the threshold for the landowner? We don't know.
Paul?
Yeah, has anybody brought up the cost of running the lines underground? Sue Clary raised the question.
Yeah, so Sue asked that. I know that the utilities hate running lines underground, but I haven't asked that, but I will.
There's quite a lot of lines on those poles. There's 3-phase on those poles. I drove through there the other day. So I'm not sure how 3-phase goes underground very well. I don't know. Al?
On a semi-related comment, just remember this name because you're going to hear more about this property owner.
So would you guys like Deb to pursue through Al to see if she can contact the owner and offer a payment for a permanent easement to start with? And see where it goes from there, or what direction do you want to head?
Yes, and also have Sue
Absolutely.
Clary drive there.
I think I heard a whole bunch of yeses.
If we can't get a hold of the landowner, we can go forth with the temporary easement, because the temporary puts it over there and at the end of the project takes it back.
if you can't get a hold of the guy, in all likelihood, you're still going to have to condemn it even temporarily.
Right.
So there's two issues going on here. One is, what kind of easement would you prefer to have? Temporary or permanent, assuming the landowner agrees to either one and the price is right.
Mhm.
The second
Well,
question
permanent makes
is,
more sense, right?
the second one is, if he doesn't agree to anything, are you willing to go ahead and take what you need? And if so, temporary or permanent. So right now we're just at the stage of, let's try to talk to the person and see what their number is, because you may be willing to agree to a permanent easement if the cost is $5. If the cost is $5 million, might look at it differently. That's the landowner says, sure, I'll do it, and I have a price. Then we're haggling over the price. If the landowner says, no how, no way, never going to happen, temporary or permanent, that's when you need to make a decision as to which avenue you want to go and consider the condemnation. So if it's a friendly transaction, that's fine. Then you're just arguing over the number. It's when it's an unfriendly transaction that you have to look at what you're willing to do to achieve the goal of getting that bridge constructed.
Is the 30 days to the next meeting a problem, Deb? I mean, that gives everybody a chance to see if they can still get a hold of them and talk. And then we bring this back up again at the next DPW meeting if we don't have any luck at all.
No, it's not a problem because we have to do this. I mean, there have been extensive efforts made to contact this guy, but Al has a good idea with trying to get through to him in a different venue. So we can try that. If we have to delay the project for another year, I don't really want to do that, but if we have to do that, we will.
But would 1 month delay it or no?
Ideally, it should go out to bid this month, but that's probably not going to happen anyway. We're getting close. We're getting close to having to delay it, but that does.
Okay.
If we have to, we have to. There's,
Yeah, and I'm comfortable in this discussion with the fact that, if you get to an uncooperative owner and we have to force the issue to proceed. And then I kind of, to agree with Dana on the discussion of don't make it permanent. If we got to force the issue and exercise, something to make this happen, temporary easement, we make it happen. We do the project, we move it back, we restore the property back to its original state, and then we're done.
Yep.
That comes at a cost, and that's probably where we need to be. But if the landowner's willing to, for a little bit more, probably in a reasonable price, make this permanent, then we can save a little bit of the cost in the project by not having to return the pole back.
Matt, Al, what is the status of that property as far as your office is concerned?
So I'm gonna meet with Roger later to have a separate discussion, but it is currently in an active bankruptcy case. And there are 9 years worth of taxes owed on these properties. There are 7 properties in total. It's a large dollar amount. So there's a separate conversation I'm not comfortable having right now, but we can have some offline stuff. There's more going on here than just this conversation.
John?
How much property are we talking about taking or using to do this?
I don't know the exact amount. Let's see.
It was just to encompass the guy wire, correct?
Yeah, it's a tiny piece. It's going to be right behind the new signs that we put up, if anybody's been over that way to see it. So
We're talking 10 yards by 10 yards.
I say
Square
that
feet.
Or less?
less.
Or less.
Dana?
But the easement also includes the aerial part. what he has above the property, the wires going across. I think what Daryl says is the way we should go forward, because we haven't pulled the trigger on anything permanent. And maybe Sue can try to locate this individual. It's in her town. Sue, I'll help you if you want some help. But I think that's the way we should go.
But if he's in bankruptcy, it doesn't matter what he says. The bankruptcy court and the bankruptcy lawyer is going to make the determination whether he can sell off an asset or not, what the value of that asset is. There's going to be creditors that are going to want part of that asset's revenue. It may not even be a decision he can make if he's in bankruptcy.
You'll probably need the approval of the trustee, but what happens to the money's not our problem. We just have to pay whatever the fair value of that is.
Deb,
So-
how big is the parcel itself? Can we actually buy the whole parcel? Is there a house on it, or is it just a vacant lot?
No, this is the old Shushan Bentwood. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I don't know how big the parcel is.
But we're only taking a small piece of it,
Yep.
or we're only using a small piece of it.
I don't think we want to delay this project if we can avoid doing that. That bridge has been flagged so many times in the last 2 years. Shut down for what, 2 weeks, Deb, last fall?
Yeah,
So we need to.
So it's potential to be red flagged then.
It was for a while. It was shut down while you guys did a rebuild on it.
Yeah. We had a red flag on it this summer and it had to be shut down, and a new pin and new pin and hangers had to be made for it. So.
Yeah, your best bet is to go through the bankruptcy council at this point, because you'll need their involvement anyway. So Al's probably got the best avenue of approach. And then there could be other reasons the person doesn't want to talk to us because he doesn't know why we're trying to contact him. So going through the attorney is probably the best thing to do right now at this point. And if somebody can personally speak to the person, that's great. But the best avenue is through the bankruptcy court. And then we can see what we have to do with them as well.
Sounds good.
So next month, hopefully we can make a decision one way or the other for Deb.
Well, if the guy agrees, we won't have to make any decision, correct? Right. Okay.
Right. We'll just pay him out of the budget of the project like we normally would.
Very good. Anything else, Deb?
Well, can you clarify if we can go forward with temporary? If he doesn't agree or no? Because that won't derail the project.
I'm not.
If he doesn't agree, how can we get a temporary easement?
We'd have to do it the same way we'd get a permanent one, and that's the part Mr. Half objects to.
Yep.
And perhaps others.
So we'll just, maybe delay the project then. All right.
Okay, Deb.
If we have an answer from his bankruptcy counsel within the next week, we could even bring it to finance and decide then if we want to. But we at least need to pursue that avenue is all I'm saying. But I just assume not delay the project, but let's find out where we're at first.
Okay.
Matt.
I guess I'm in a harsh mood today. If we're considering a guy who's evaded taxes for 9 years and is in bankruptcy, if we're going to potentially squash a little bit of his rights versus the thought of red flagging that and cutting off whatever it's going to cut off to those two municipalities, when I weigh those two things, I don't have any problem getting a temporary easement moving forward to get the damn bridge fixed. Sorry, Dana, you and I can disagree on that one.
Such bad words, Matt.
Like I said, I'm in a harsh mood today, Dana. I don't know why.
I'm not.
Dan?
If Matt makes that a motion, I'll second it. No, I mean, really, the point is taken. Now that I know who the property owner is, I understand the situation a little better. And I don't think you're going to get this resolved maybe in a year's time without doing this. And so costs go up. I think we want to keep this bridge going, and we don't want to have that bridge shut down for that community issue.
If I made that motion in the past, would it go to the full board at the January meeting? Or would it would just be taken care of here in this committee?
No, it'd have to go to the full board to authorize the,
All right, then I'll make the motion, because that way there's time between now and the full board meeting for somebody to get
Plenty of
some
time.
answers on it. But
Yep.
if not, I think the public good of keeping the bridge open supersedes things here. But I'll make that motion if you're gonna second it, Dan.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to, how was the wording? How do you want to word it, Matt?
Whatever Roger says for a temporary easement, that whatever that wording needs to be to get the,
To take
contract
it.
out so we can get the bridge built, get the two communities served.
so I'm going on the, and I'm gonna have to defer to Debbie on this. I thought we'd stopped doing the chairman allowed to sign condemnation things. If we did that resolution, then it won't have to go in front of the board.
We didn't do it, right? We've stopped.
Right. That was my understanding, is that we stopped doing it after Mr. Half objected. So that's why I said to Debbie, she'd have to bring it here for approval to do that. So in that case, there would have to be a resolution authorizing the proceeding, just like we did with Joe, to authorize the proceeding, temporary or permanent, whichever the committee's pleasure is, to proceed and do that, if we can't find the guy and reach some agreement.
Dana?
I'm opposed to having that resolution brought back where the chairman can sign, because when we do something like this, I think it's very healthy that we discuss it just like this.
Well, it would only be for this particular situation. The resolution going forward from today, I'm not proposing you reinstitute a blanket one. I'm saying we would write one that says for this particular project at this particular location, the chairman is authorized to sign what he needs to sign to pursue a temporary, if that's what the committee chooses.
No,
easement.
I
So
thought the
basically-
condemnation isn't in effect at the moment you said that.
Right.
Right, so that's
No,
what-
you'd have to do condemnation to get the temporary easement.
Right,
You can't get a hold of the guy. You have to do condemnation.
right. If he agrees, then we're not having any discussions.
Yeah, this, no.
All the
I don't need to
resolution
sign it.
authorizes is if they're unable to reach an agreement. You never need a resolution if everybody agrees. That's the easy.
Cassie, do you have your hand up? Okay, Daryl?
So I kind of agree with where this discussion is going in the standpoint is we don't want to delay the benefit of the public good, safety to the project being done sooner as opposed to later. And then the other piece is, okay, how long do you wait to contact? So Deb, I think your project timeline is going to drive that. The third piece is on the temporary question or for discussion. If we go temporary and this is condemnation we're going to authorize in the full board one time for the chairman to sign, are we going to put a price tag on this? Or are we just going to do it? Does the 17,000 need to go towards this? Or we just say, look, public good, we're going to do a temporary easement. We're going to restore back normal. And then and we're not going to compensate, or do we have to compensate?
No, you have to
We
compensate.
compensate. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yep.
wouldn't
So it
put a
is what it
number on
is.
it.
The number 17, that's the number we put on it, or do we need to relook that number?
That's
number
the
we
right
put
of
on
way.
it.
The right of way consultant has figured out how much it will cost, and that was for permanent. So I'll have to find out what it would be for temporary.
John?
Leave.
17,000 for less than 100 square foot of property? Is that what I'm understanding?
That's what the professionals say, John.
I got it.
You know how to find him. Start doing the work, and if he don't show up, continue doing the work. If he shows up, then we can go through this.
Dana? You want to follow through on that one?
I think the 17,000 has already been authorized, so that might be a little bit of the budget. So if the temporary easement costs more than that, you have to have an amendment to that resolution.
The 17 was for the permanent easement, the temporary should be less, right?
I think it was that 17 was the temporary, because I asked committee, why so
Right.
much for temporary? Roger said that's what they cost.
Yep. So it's I will get all of that for you because I don't have it right here exactly how much it was. How much does each one cost?
Either way, if you're planning on pursuing this involuntarily, you're going to hire somebody to come up with a valuation. In essence, you've already done that, because with each one of these projects, there comes a person whose job is to evaluate anything that we're pursuing temporarily or permanently and make an offer. So we've kind of cut out the initial part of it. Because normally what you would do is, okay, I need this land for whatever. You go to the property owner, you say, how much? He says $20 million. You say, no, how about whatever? And then you can't come to an agreement, but you still want the land. You go to a court and you say, court, I need this land and I'm willing to pay X. And the other landowner says, I'm willing to pay Y. And the court listens to different experts' valuations and picks a number, which is probably Z. But that's the way it works. If it goes the entire stretch of the eminent domain process, you're hoping that you're not going to have to even get to the first stretch of filing any kind of thing against the person.
Brian?
Yeah, so what I wanted to bring up was Dana actually prevailed in this. If we hadn't stopped the way we were doing business, we never would have heard anything about this. It just would have happened. And so therefore, basically a job well done, because I think things like this should go to the full board and we should vet them, because I think everybody got to the point where we had to be, that public safety and those concerns are probably outweigh some of the things that are the other issues right now. But without that being waived, this discussion never would have happened. And I think this was an important discussion.
Okay, anybody else? We have a motion on the floor. My only comment is, just by driving through there and then looking at Deb's plans, was, if we're going for temporary, and I'm fine with that, but a permanent would work so much better for the houses around the area and the bridge and everything else, because where they're proposing to set this pole, there isn't really anything around it at all. So it's not like there's a dooryard for houses or anything else there, and it kind of gets it away from other houses. It's just my point of view, that's all. So if we're ready, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Dana is opposed. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Next item, Deb.
That's all I got, unless you guys got something.
You got Al Nolet there, Jay.
Oh, Al.
Deb, I just need the exact parcel that we're talking about, please.
Okay.
And Deb, I'll need project information and things like that too.
Okay.
Dave, you had a question, you said? Or no? Okay. Anybody else have a question for Deb? I guess with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Well, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, Sam has one.
I believe Tim Hardy's waiting to get on. He has some important information regarding the emergency snowstorm we just had.
Okay.
Hey, thank you all for just giving me a couple of quick seconds. I've already talked to Deb into Buildings and Grounds. So we were advised by the state that they're evaluating the potential of a federal disaster declaration for the large winter snowstorm on the 16th and 17th. So we can identify a 48-hour period. Each municipality can identify their own. I mean, typically for our area, we're probably looking at midnight on the 17th through midnight on the 19th as being our prime snow removal time. And any of your overtime, equipment costs, or any other contract costs could potentially be eligible costs for that. I did send that out just a little while ago. If you could just get that to your highway superintendents or whoever you want to be your point of contact if your town is interested. We just need those numbers back preliminary by 1 o'clock tomorrow so we can get those compiled into the state. We just need a couple of things to line up. So we have to hit our threshold of 254,000 and change. And the state obviously has to hit the threshold of 30 million to be able to request that federal disaster declaration, which would make those costs eligible for reimbursement. So if you haven't seen that email yet, if you could just check your email and make sure that gets to your highway folks. So we want to make sure if there's a potential for recouping money for any of our towns and villages that we do that.
Thank you, Tim. And on that note, I want to say, I think that our county guys and all of our town guys did an amazing job through those snowstorms, trying to get things open and people through. So, thank you for that. Anything else?
And Mother Nature was quick to let us forget.
motion to adjourn. Cassie makes the motion.
Second.
Paul seconds it. All in favor, aye. Thank you.
Aye.